Subnautica is one of my favorite survival games. Honestly, just one of my favorite games, period. It did already have a sequel that has been met with some pretty negative feedback. Personally, I love Below Zero, but I do recognize that it does have some glaring flaws. That being said, this video isn't about the past, it's about the future. And the future is Subnautica 2. Because apparently the second game in the series isn't number 2, kind of like how Fallout New Vegas is somehow not Fallout 4. Listen, I don't make the rules. In this video, I'm going to provide you with all of the current information that we have about Subnautica 2, my thoughts on what we currently know about it, and some things that I would personally love to see in the new game. Sorry if that baited you. I don't have any friends who work at the development company, so my information is the same as what you could find online. What we do know is that we're getting Subnautica 2 in 2025, or at least they say so. Is that early 2025? I don't think it will be, otherwise they would have said something like coming spring of 2025. But if you do think about it, they make money when they make sales, which gives them a huge incentive to get this out sooner rather than later. Not only does that give them money to pay the devs, but through the theory of time value of money, money now is worth much more than money later, so it would make sense for them to get this out as soon as it's realistically ready to put on early release. Sorry, early access, and they have confirmed that they are going with an early access model. It's kind of interesting. When I was a kid, it was considered sloppy and kind of just bad practice and greedy to release a game half finished and then update it. But now that's a standard, and to be honest with you, I'm all about it. It gives the development company money to continue paying for game development, and the last game I played that they released this way, they all ended up kicking ass down the road. I'm pretty confident that they're going to release a fully playable start to finish game, but we should expect some awesome updates down the road that should warrant replays. What we can see from the game's Steam profile is that we're going to be underwater again. Big surprise, prepare to get wet. New world, new adventure. Maybe a brave new world. While it doesn't explicitly say it, it could stand to reason that we are going to a new planet, and it does have some large aquatic zone. We get some awesome shots of this planet in the trailer, and they look to have put a ton of detail into it. We haven't actually seen any official gameplay, so I'm not sure exactly what we're going to be looking at for the storyline. Personally, I don't want to know anything about it. I love going into these games blind and trying to figure them out. From what we know, you're a pioneer, you're off to explore a new planet, but something is off. The ship's computer is trying to force you to carry on with your mission, and then it says something in these details here about changing what it means to be human. Very ominous. This is massive for the game. I've seen a little bit of crying on Reddit about how this was somehow ruining the game and the single-player experience. That is a complete brainlet take and absolutely ridiculous. You can still play the game solo if you prefer that type of playthrough, or you could team up with your friends and play together. It's literally just the best of both worlds. Personally, I'm amped to be able to play through this with my girlfriend and introduce her to the Subnautica world. It cuts the resource gathering time in half, which I see as a low value activity. You're really only gathering so that you can build, so with this, you're just going to be building twice as much. And listen guys, if you want to play through this solo, that's great. I'm going to at least once, at least twice, if not more than that. It's going to have no effect on your experience whatsoever. It's really just a win-win for everybody. How about you guys go ahead and like the video and subscribe to the channel for me? It looks like the idea of base building is still going strong for Subnautica 2. It looks like they're also going to be expanding it to make it more customizable. Base building is personally my favorite part of survival games, not just Subnautica, so more customization is fantastic. It's going to be a lot more fun to play. You can tailor your base to you, your priorities at the time, and a little selfishly, it's going to make for some great video ideas. It also looks like there's going to be new tools that are coming to provide greater adaptation. Depending on how they do this, I'm actually not really about that. And here's what I mean by this. I hate having my inventory cluttered by tools. I like to have those 5 that I pin down there on the bottom. I can switch between those super nice and easy. But when you have to go back to your inventory and swap them out, it's just annoying. It takes time, and I know it's not that big of a deal to do once, but if you do it, you know, like 200 times, you're starting to just use a ton of your time just switching out the tools, just minorly annoying. So if they add new tools that are replacing the old ones, great. I love that new way to play the game. Fantastic. But if they're just adding new ones on top of the ones we already have, that's super annoying, and I hope they do not go that route. I feel the same way about armor. If it's taking up more of my inventory, that's super annoying. Like in Subnautica 1, when you have the radiation suit and then your other suit that you're using, and you have to switch between the two, it just takes up so much of your inventory to switch between those. What if there was a separate, like, wearables menu that they had where it was separate than your inventory, where you stored your ore and your different, you know, items that you pick up off the seafloor? That I could get behind. Other than just more customizability and just more new rooms, the one thing that I really want them to put into Subnautica 2 is an ultra massive room with a massive alien containment so that we can finally hatch Leviathan eggs. On the other end, it does mention submersibles. It looks like we have something kind of Seamoth-like, maybe a little bit more podular with this one. Then my other hope is that we get another massive sea-based type of vehicle like we had with the Cyclops. For the new biomes, nothing is mentioned other than them having new biomes, which they would kind of have to. It's kind of one of the main points of the game. If we look at the trailer, it appears like we have some sort of safe shallows type of biome. You're likely starting in this area. It's super lush and way more detailed than we have in the prior games. Then we also see a type of sinkhole open up that brings our character to a deep, dark area, which is all that we really have from this trailer so far. Personally, I trust them to knock it out of the park with these, but we do have some other images that they've shared on the official pages, along with some concept art. In this first image, we have some more of a realistic reef setting, kind of a little twisty Bridges-esque. This next one is a little bit more open, looks a little bit more sparse as well. This third one could be one of the prior two ones. It looks pretty shallow. We have another classic Subnautica vibe with this thermal cave setup. Looks pretty tight. I don't think we could get a big submarine through here. And then we round it all off with a traditional reef cave type of thing here. None of these concepts are super new, but the attention to detail in these is really exciting. Then we take a look at the concept art. It shows us some beautiful shots of potential biomes. I do have to give these ones a little bit of a disclaimer because the concept arts very rarely make it into the game as is. They're usually a bit different, and the concept arts usually look a little bit better. The artists that do these are just amazing at what they do, and I really like the vibes of this one in particular. What I want to see from Subnautica 2 from a biome perspective is something that mimics the terror that we saw in the first game, just in the first game in general, but specifically from things like the crash zone. It's super murky. You can't really see too far in front of you. There's rewarding loot. There's a good reason to be going there in the first place, but there is danger that could be lurking around every turn. I think this super dark area that they showed in the trailer could be just that, especially with this Kraken thing that's coming up behind the ship. Jump scares will get old really quick, but I do want that feeling of thinking twice before entering a new zone that I had personally when I first played Subnautica 1. From the Steam page, we have a section saying study mysterious life forms, which is kind of one of the major points of this game in general. Obviously, the game has to have some new fish in it. Right at the start of the trailer, we have this guy that looks kind of like a less stupid spadefish. And then there's these little ones also that we see when we dive down into the sinkhole. Also sweet that they've shown us two Leviathans so far. We have this awesome hermit crab-like guy that kind of blends in with the scenery until he pops out. I love this, and I love that it's also in one of the starting area, so we get to see something big, creepy, and crawly right in the first part of the game. Then in the deep dark depths of that sinkhole, we have what appears to be resembling a kraken or some type of massive squid. They don't show us the whole thing, and I am very thankful for that because I can't wait to experience this one on my own. Now, before I go into what I want to see in the game, let's take a quick look at what we can see in the concept art and screenshots. Obviously, any concept art or official screenshots in there is literally just that. If you go through the old Subnautica 1 and Below Zero concept art, a ton of it in there never actually made it into the game, or it looks completely different. If we look at this first picture off to the right, we have this small shark and then this other thing with this dome-shaped head. Okay, moving on to this picture, that thing from the last picture is definitely one of these guys. The notes on the wiki say that this is a hammerhead. Personally, to me, it looks like this one is going to be aggressive. There's also a note that the little fish here that we see in the back of the picture is called a half moon. Not that that really matters for anything. They look like they're going to be one of our edible fish varieties too, just based off of the size of them. In this next concept art, we have some big ass crabs. I think these are probably a version of that big crab that we saw from the trailer, and I assume they're not really going to be outwardly aggressive, just very territorial, kind of like the rock puncher. In these thermal caves, we have a medium-sized predatory shark. There's been tons of medium-sized predatory sharks in the other games. I do love the silhouette in the back, very weird looking. Then in these next two, we have some other type of shark. They kind of look like the same fish. You're never really sure what it's going to end up looking like in the final product. And then we do have these dev teasers of whatever this goober is. Then, just like in the last section, I really want them to add in more Leviathan class creatures. They need to do something that is big and scary like the first game, adding some level of mystery and terror. Also, for the sake of another egg hatching video, it would be awesome for them to make more eggs, and eggs of some of the cooler creatures as well, not just all of the little guys. And as I mentioned in the building section, making the ability to make a massive alien containment, not just to make a giant reef for me to make that video in, but also for us to hatch those Leviathan eggs. Anyways, guys, guys, that's everything that I could find for you. I hope you're as excited as I am. If there's any more updates, I'll be sure to make more news videos on this and any other games that I'm currently interested in. Hit me with a like, a subscribe, and I will see you in the next video.